Good afternoon, everyone. All right, we're live. Well, hello, my name is Kit. I'm one of the founders of a company called Thrust Carbon. We help businesses understand and reduce their carbon footprint from travel, which is hugely important. But when you're traveling somewhere, you typically end up at a city. And so this is an area where I'm not an expert, but I'm joined by 5 wonderful experts, and we're going to talk all about carbon neutral cities. So while in Europe, cities only account for around 4% of the land area, they account for 65% of all the citizens of Europe, and 70% of all the globe's emissions are typically from cities. So it's a huge opportunity. And so the EU announced an initiative to create 100 carbon-neutral cities by 2030. Carbon-neutral and smart cities. And there's actually a separate conversation going on in one of the rooms next door about the smart city side, but we're here to talk about the carbon-neutral side. So, before we just jump into it, I would like to introduce our very wonderful speakers. Getting it in the right order. We have Camilla Zedendahl, who is the CEO of the Royal Djurgården Society of Stockholm. We are then joined by Jaume, who is the head of institutional affairs and development at Andalusia and Extremadura ENDESA.
That's him.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I don't have it in the right order. That is terrible. So, I do apologize.
Yeah.
That also makes more sense. We then have Jaume, the head of sustainable tourism at Visit València. Spyridon Kagkas.
Excellent.
Thank you. I have the phonetic spellings here. And he's the digital and community manager of This is Athens. And finally, but by no means least, we have Esperanza, Caro, who is the General Director of Sustainable Development for Financing and Foreign Action for Seville City. So thank you so much to our wonderful presenters today, and we're going to start with our first presentation.
Thank you. Do we have a clicker? Here we go. Okay. And green is forward. Thank you. My name is Camilla Zedendahl, as you said, Kit, and I am the CEO of the ADDMA Royal Djurgården Society. Royal Djurgården welcomes way over 15 million visitors each year and is an important part of the Swedish and the Stockholm tourism industry. About 6 years ago, we enhanced our cooperation for a more sustainable tourism. And then, to make sure that we work in a structured way in accordance with the GSTC criteria, we entered the Green Destination Award program a little over a year ago, and we are really proud of receiving the Platinum Award this September in Athens. So, hard work. But we're not alone. We all cooperate on so many levels. Visit Sweden's ambitions are important, declaring our time and age as a new era where we move together towards a more conscious traveling and tourism. And of course, Visit Stockholm, who like us share the ambitions of the city. So Stockholm is, like you said, Kit, one of the 100 EU cities, carbon neutral cities. Now, remember, I'm from the industry, not the city. So there's a long list of what's being done in the Climate Neutral Action Plan, but I've decided to focus on the actions that the city is taking that actually affects tourism. And where we in the industry can contribute to the overall goal of climate neutral. And then I'll give you examples of our actions, okay? So, transport is a big emitter. It stands for 40% in Stockholm. We do need more electric vehicles. But we also need to reduce the vehicles in numbers. So the goal here is to decrease cars in the city with 30%. This is changing the city completely. We can see it already in city planning. Walking, public transport, bicycling is prioritized, and cars are actually giving up street space. So the city is becoming a bicycle-friendly city, which is really nice. Some streets are even closed off completely for traffic, transforming public spaces into places for restaurants, for art, and for people, making the city even more attractive for us who live there, but also our visitors, of course. When it comes to energy, the Nordic mix is to a great degree actually fossil-free, but there is a demand for more, as you know. So more solar energy is encouraged on our rooftops to be more independent. Consumption is not included, it's in scope 3, but it matters to us in tourism. We're talking about building materials, we're talking about food, and Stockholm has actually set a goal there to decrease emissions in this field as well by 50%. Finally, of course, the strategy recognizes that the city cannot do this alone, and that's where we come in. So, what is Royal Djurgården? It's right in the middle of Sweden's vibrant capital of Stockholm. It's built on one island. The land belongs to the king. We have 22 museums, over 30 restaurants. We are part of the world's first national city park, being the green living room for the Stockholmers. Again, we have over 15 million visitors. This adds up to the 60 members of the Royal Djurgården Society. Together, we make up the destination. So, we work together in a structured way, as I said, leading up to the new award that we just got. We gather facts, structure, we act, and then we communicate and audit. When we gather facts and structure, we look at the areas where we have, we focus on 4 areas that we have identified, and within these we have set goals, and I have them here if anybody wants to look at them. Concrete goals for 2022, 2025, and 2027. They've been unanimously adopted by our members, and they steer us all. But let's look at action. I'll give you some examples within these 2 focus areas and how we add into the carbon neutral mission. As I said, we're part of the National City Park, a protected green area. It's a big island, but we only have 1 bridge and 1 road in. So cars make up long queues. Is it over-tourism? No. We have plenty of room, but we need to think new and what the future demands of an attractive destination. The solution demands no private cars, more public transport, innovative mobility, investment in infrastructure. All of this supports the carbon neutral mission, but we also need the support from the city and the region. We need them on board to succeed. So to make our case, we started with public transport. We decided not just to ask for it, but to prove that it was needed. We gathered up the money, and for 1 month we transported over 90,000 people by boat, sidestepping the roads. Now we have facts in the work to increase public transport when we talk about these issues. We continued. We need the city to invest in infrastructure for better traffic solutions. So starting with facts, we ordered a traffic report. With that in hand, we could go to our politicians to initiate a test to close off our 1 bridge for private cars, asking also the region to assist us with extra public transportations. For decades, closing the bridge had been said could not be done. The test this summer proved that wrong. Not only was it possible, our guests loved it, the ferry to Djurgården hit a record high, we got room for other things to do with attractive spaces. So now we're working together on further steps. For us, it's important to do ours, to create hope and show that change is not only possible, but it's good. Innovation is key for the city and for this project, so as well as it is for us. We in tourism have like a stage. We welcome and meet people from all over the world. The two first examples were about pushing for change within the destination, but inspiring others is equally important to induce change, and I think that tourism has a role here. I'll give you some really quick examples. In 1897, the first cars were displayed at Djurgården. Now, 125 years later, a 5G-steered, driverless, fossil-free bus was tested here as part of the future of mobility solutions. When we build, all of us in tourism, we build to attract visitors. A gigantic dome is being built with mind-blowing technique of 10,000 wooden pieces storing carbon, inspiring new ways to build buildings. With firm knowledge of our past, our museums have a conversation with our millions of visitors about the future through our exhibits. Aim to inspire and to show the way, and I think here you have some examples. Finally, we, as a destination, just signed the Glasgow Declaration, as many of you have already done. A strong signal from our industry that we are ready to do our part and push forward towards carbon neutrality for Stockholm. Thank you.
Okay. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us here to talk. I'm really glad that we are talking about urban tourism, because when we are talking about sustainability in general terms, we have to look for specific particular cases like urban tourism, because we work on cities, and these are very complex systems that requires this particular approach. For instance, in our case, I'm talking about carbon neutral systems on approaches. We have this lagoon, which is a natural park that belongs to the city, and we have all these farmlands surrounding the city. So all the impacts that we are creating in our streets and squares and with the cruise lines, etc., goes there. So it's part of this general approach that requires how to manage and to look at the techniques and the requirements and the community. So I'll try to overview very quickly our case, to share our experience in this journey, to become a more carbon neutral destination if we can get it. Yeah, this is a challenge. So where? Valencia is a city, it's a Mediterranean city, it's a coastal city. So it was founded by the Romans. We have around 1.5 million citizens in our metropolitan area. And how many? Well, we are back to business now. We are just having the same figures that we had in the pre-pandemic times. So people is coming back, and the impacts are coming back. And we are not sure if we are ready to stay and to keep business as usual. And who? Well, Visit Valencia Foundation. We are a public-private partnership that we are presided by the City Hall, and we started having this sustainability wording on our strategy in the year 16. So we had the idea and we had the philosophy, but how to do it, how to get it? Well, we needed indicators, we needed data, we needed to learn, to benchmark. That was the beginning of our journey, and how to activate our value chain. This morning was the word, the value chain, how to understand that, how to engage them on this trip towards what we want to get. And mainly, how can we get the visitor economy aligned with the city, which is not always happens, and it didn't happen before. So that's why, well, we start talking to the city, which was really committed to this carbon neutral purpose and this mission. We are following this urban agenda in Valencia. It's very mission oriented. So we already have a mission, which is very inspirational. And we had to learn how to help them. How we are tourism in our city. It's like many citizens or territories here. We are around 50% of the economy. So we are strategic, and the pandemic shown the importance of having good tourism, the proper tourism there. So how to get them? Well, how we can follow the guidelines that the city wanted, and that was the key for our strategy, is that, well, we had to preserve and to contribute to the competitiveness of both public and private sectors. On the others have to collaborate and to understand this is a common challenge, that we had to follow the guidelines towards more efficiency, to become more responsible, to report, to understand, to measure, etc. And the city, it's, as I said, clearly committed. In fact, we are the European Green Capital in 2024. So everything we could do for them was understood that, okay, we are part of the team. No, we're not just the industry of tourism. No, we are part of their strategy nowadays. So how we started? Well, the carbon emissions and carbon neutrality is a trigger. It's a keyword, because it activates everything from our perspective for those public and private, because we are talking about cost efficiency for them, cost savings, for responsibility, for aligning with the consumer trends. So they had to, they wanted to. Here the question is how to do it. Well, that's why we established our commitments. We thought that carbon neutrality could be the flagship to embark all of them in this mission in tourism sector. And well, the beginning is measurement. We need data. We need to understand how many, who, where, when, how far it's the goal, etc. So that's why we started in this benchmarking and learning process with our ecosystem, with the water management company in Valencia. They are engineers, and they applied their knowledge to tourism. And well, they made all these calculations. They understood who is responsible for which part of the water and carbon footprint. Water and carbon just were related, and mainly here in Spain, the Mediterranean area. And we identified, and it's not a secret. It's not a hidden secret methodology. No, it's an ISO. We just apply the ISO, which is for gas and carbon emissions, to tourism, to translating into which part of the value chain produces what kind of emissions. So we know how to improve them. And moreover, well, we want is how to downscale that from the destination level to the companies, to the institutions, to the facilities. Well, we did some pilots in the conference center, which is one of the best conference centers in the world, awarded, and a big attractions like the aquarium. And they got it. They got this measurement. They got this accreditation. So we've got the basis for the work. and Glasgow Declaration. Again, getting this commitment, and we really encourage you to sign the Glasgow Declaration, to get your institutions to sign the Glasgow Declaration, because it's a common and a global challenge that we have to face all together. So it helps to understand how to do it. And, well, and finally, what's next? Well, with these basics, we started measuring. We are already calculating. We submitted our sustainable tourism plan to the national authority that Miguel Sanz mentioned, which is funded by the Next Generation funds in Spain. And we submitted our plan, including all these topics, which are green and sustainable transition, improvement, and digitalization and competitiveness. And these are some of the projects that we included and we are trying to undertake. It's not easy, it's a lot of work, it's an incredible challenge, but well, we know how, when, and what to do. And that's a matter of hard working. So just to finish, well, we are on this journey. This is part of the journey now, how to do it, taking action. Matt said this morning, we are talking, we are learning, we are collaborating, we are networking a lot, but we need to take actions to land, to get to the ground all this knowledge, and to help our value chain, to our stakeholders, to do simple steps. Just begin by simple steps, you know? And so we have a mission, but we are keeping in mind, you know, the Eisenhower principle that says that the urgent are not important, but the important are never urgent. So in times of pandemics and all these matters, don't forget what's important, okay? So finally, well, we are coming soon from some reports, like we already have the climate risk for tourism in our city, which will be the basics for our climate action plan based on this scientific data, measurement, data, understanding, okay? Well, that's it for me. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Spyridon. First, I want to check whether that's a huge font. Yes, it's huge, so you can all read it. I'm from the city of Athens. The whole thing with Valencia's report, I really need to dig more into that. That's really great. So let me first say that I work for the DMO. This is Athens. We all know why we're here. And for the city of Athens, addressing the climate crisis is actually at the heart of every decision that we make, political, of how to promote anything. So how can Athens become a carbon neutral city by 2030? That's the big question here. And I have an overview of what we're going to do, how we've set the goals, and the actions that we're planning to take. So first things first, we actually set the goal of reduction in the gas emissions, compared to our 2018 numbers. We also said that we needed to make sure that the public has access to green spaces on foot. And we also are in the process of making sure that 30% of all the city surface is either green or permeable surfaces, which help reduce heat and a lot of more. We don't need to get into technicalities, but so how about the climate action plan? So the implementation is also, we understand how it has this positive impact on the city, on the society, but it also reduces the cost. There is a budget that we save when we spend to get to this carbon neutrality. And we are not doing this alone. Obviously, we are part of this global climate, change, and we are cooperating with you. We're cooperating with the EU. We are the C40 cities, So we found all these networks that are able to help us and introduce their expertise so we can benefit from that. So what we've done, we've actually drawn 7 interesting action areas that we will be doing more. Energy upgrade and, and production from renewable energy sources, accelerated transition to sustainable and smart mobility, urban revitalization, incorporating green and blue infrastructure. Blue infrastructure meaning rivers, all the fountains, the ways that we can find some water within the city. Manage and restore ecosystems and biodiversity. That's also a very important aspect in big cities and urban areas like Athens. Prevent and respond to climate crisis. That's that's a topic that is going to be more and more evident every day that passes. And introduce circular and sustainable urban living to the citizens and the visitors. And obviously complete the transition to a green and digital city. That's the 7th goal, kind of like everything in together. Now, what we're doing, energy upgrade. We're actually, the city of Athens has started replacing all the light fixtures within the city. That is a huge, huge task, let me tell you. But we've actually managed to reduce the consumption by 60%, yes, by 60% from 25. The goal is to be able to make it to 10. And this is a 50 million euros investment that we will think it will pay off in less than 8 years. Second thing is, a transition to sustainable and smart mobility. So in the EU, you know that very well, there's a push for electric cars. Athens and Greece is part of that huge push. But also the Athens Urban Transportation Organization is about to buy within the next 3 to 5 years 1,013 new buses that are either electric or hybrid. The Athens Metro is about to open 3 new stations and is now launching a new line, a metro line, which will bring us to 18 new stations by 2013, which is important. And electric bikes and scooters, I've seen scooters everywhere here, electric scooters, are doubling actually their sales in Athens every year. So we see that there is an interesting wave that we're also riding, and there is a way for us to get to where we want. Urban revitalization, green and blue infrastructure, okay, make it a more walkable city, that's the goal. How do we do that? Innovative new green infrastructure with small pocket parks. That's something that we do often with some private and public collaboration and partnerships. We've renovated 34 fountains around the city, more to come. And here I have the statistics of the urban dynamics. It's quite interesting, and I will let you see that for a while. It talks about the different neighborhoods, 7 different neighborhoods of Athens and their green spaces, their access to green spaces. We even have the statistics about the population and how old they are, so where they can walk. If you want more info, I can actually send you the presentation afterwards. Part of that infrastructure is actually the new Botanikos neighborhood. This is a double regeneration program that aims to actually build a new huge football stadium in the area of Botanikos. And we do believe that this will create a new, and interesting new neighborhood within the city where 50% of it will be greenery. And again, managing and restoring ecosystems and biodiversity. This is a map of all the green spaces in Athens. We see where we need more spaces, obviously, but we're actually utilizing these private and public partnerships to manage and maintain them. About the crisis and climate crisis, what we did, Athens was one of the first cities who actually appointed a chief heat officer. More on this later on, as I understand. But this is also another step that we've taken for the carbon neutrality. And introduce circular and sustainable urban living. Okay, that is a lot. What we actually need to do is provide information, get more people to support what we're doing, support in entrepreneurships and green innovation, simplify administrative procedures. There are a lot of actions that we need to do, and they all have to do with awareness and the community. We are doing our best. It's never enough, but we're doing our best there. And how to complete the transition to a green and digital city. Okay, we actually have the statistics now. 80% of all municipal services have now been digitalized. We have more than 175,000 citizens who have been registered to get the jobs done through the PC. 20 of the city building authority services are now again digital. We have digitized parking almost in every neighborhood, more to come soon. And we are utilizing Novoville, a digital app for feedback. And we already have 120,000 people who have downloaded and uploaded suggestions. I kind of try to sum everything up about the sectors, about the residential sector, the emissions, and the reduction that we expect. This is simply the plan that we have. I don't think that I'm probably the best person to talk about how we've done this research. I lack the depth of knowledge. But I do know that this has been the goal that we've set, and we strongly believe that we are able to achieve that. But now, taking climate action further, we're talking about equitability. We need to have, one of the things about equitability is also about accessibility. Due to the way that Athens was built, most of the, most of the sideways are extremely narrow. There's an ongoing plan to create more space for them so we can get more accessible for everyone. We actually also have mapped existing accessible routes that we've put online in Greek and in English for everyone who needs to, stroll through the city or wants to see this. We didn't do this alone. We obviously went to the experts and get their help. And about tourism. Well, we do see tourism development as, we're taking a more holistic approach because we do understand that the visitors economy is an integral part of the city and of the economy and of all aspects of the city's economy. But the way that we see is that quality of life is actually what drives people to the city. And when we're talking about the quality of life, we need to talk about how the residents actually live there and what are their needs. Because we see Athens, we see all the cities, all urban areas, as kind of like a common ground between residents and visitors that they both need to enjoy equally. So yes, we have more than attracting investments and talent. We have a GSTC evaluation, and we do have run educational workshops. And for us, collaboration is the key. We're building collaborations with public and private partnerships. These are some of these partnerships that we're actually running at this time. And if you want any more info, just approach me or send me a request, and I'll be happy to provide you with more data. So, as the mayor said, the issue of climate change for us is an issue of democracy, and that's how we plan on managing it. So, thank you.
Wonderful. Just a reminder on this point, if you have the Slido app, you can send through questions as well. So if you have any questions, you can ask us right here on stage. For the next presentation by Esperanza, it will be in Spanish. So if you have the headphones available, now's the time to pop them on. Take it away. Thank you.
Va a ser mixta, por lo cual nos incorporamos. Bueno, buenos días. La verdad es que vamos a hacer una presentación conjunta. Yo vengo por el Ayuntamiento de Sevilla, mi compañero Juan viene por la empresa privada, pero queremos presentaros un proyecto común en el cual creo que hemos intentado borrar esas fronteras entre lo público y lo privado, ¿no? La ciudad de Sevilla es una ciudad básicamente... son muchas cosas, ¿no? La ciudad de Sevilla, pero una de las cosas que es potente es una ciudad turística. Pero para nosotros, y un poco también lo que estaban diciendo los colegas anteriormente, pues no hablamos de sostenibilidad turística, nosotros hablamos de una ciudad sostenible, donde el turista está integrado y donde buscamos la incorporación en toda la forma de vida en la que estamos nosotros trabajando. Y Sevilla tiene un reto, interpreto aquí, sí. Sevilla tiene un reto, y es que somos una de las 100 ciudades climáticamente o elegidas como para ser climáticamente neutra en el 2030. Es algo que no es fácil y todos los que estamos aquí, supongo que los de ahí arriba, sois conscientes de ello. No es fácil porque el compromiso anterior que teníamos era de llegar a un 60% de reducción de nuestras emisiones de efecto invernadero y ahora estamos en un 100%. Eso es bastante difícil, pero bueno, creemos que se puede hacer. Pero me gustaría, y supongo que a lo largo del día de hoy, hablaremos no solamente de la mitigación, sino también hablaremos de cómo nos vamos adaptando. Somos ciudades, en nuestro caso, una ciudad muy vulnerable al cambio climático, una ciudad donde cada vez más vamos viendo problemas con el agua, con la sequía, con las olas de calor, con la temperatura, y para todo ello estamos trabajando. De una manera muy breve, me gustaría daros unas pinceladas porque luego queremos presentaros un proyecto que creemos que es muy, muy interesante. En cuanto a la mitigación al cambio climático, me gustaría daros una pequeña foto. Más o menos el 45% del problema que hay en la ciudad se debe a la movilidad, otro 40-45% a la vivienda y todo lo que conlleva, y el resto, pues, varios, ¿no? Desde residuos o otro tipo de gestión de la energía. Eso, digamos, como números gordos. Y luego, en cuanto a la adaptación, aquí ya hemos hablado un par de cosas, la ha comentado el compañero de Atenas, en el caso de ellos tiene un responsable del calor. Estamos trabajando juntos, de hecho, Atenas y Sevilla, en un proyecto que, si queréis, luego lo podemos desarrollar, justamente de conocimiento de categorización y nominación de olas de calor, un proyecto Prometeo, que lo que pretende es dar mayor conocimiento y seguridad para todo aquel que vive, comparte o viene a la ciudad. O me gustaría también poder hablar en un futuro de otros proyectos que tenemos de confort climático en espacios abiertos. O sea, lo que estamos haciendo es intentar bajar la temperatura en los espacios abiertos en la época de más calor, en la época de verano, para hacer más agradable la estancia y no perder quizás una de las características más que tiene esta ciudad, que es la vida en la calle, una vida intensa en la calle, que podemos conocer otros países que tienen altas temperaturas, que lo que hacen es que se refugian en el interior de la vivienda, pero eso ya deja de ser ciudad y pasan a ser un montón de casas unidas. Entonces nuestro modelo es diferente. Uy, me estoy pasando el tiempo. ¿Cómo vamos a poder hacer eso? No lo sé. Creo que sí. ¿Por qué? Porque ya estamos en un proyecto conjunto, público-privado, en un proyecto que pretende conseguir ser neutro en carbono en el 2025, 5 años antes de lo que nos obliga el compromiso adquirido. Y sin más, te cedo la palabra, que me enrollo.
Good afternoon. Well, we are going to explain this project is ECT Seville. First is the area. ECT Seville is developed in Cartuja Island. It's an area in Seville that is surrounded by the river. This area has a past, present, and future. It hosts the Universal Expo in '92. It was a big tourism event. And after that, it was transformed in a scientific and technological park. But it is not only that, because there are a lot of interest from a tourism point of view. Not only watch the pavilions of this expo, there are different museums inside the Cartuja Island, There are a modern art museum, there is a Caixa Forum, a Navigation Pavilion. There is also theaters. There is a Central Theater, there is a Cartuja Theater, and there is also a theme park that is Isla Mágica. So there is a lot of attractive things for the tourism in this island. And this project, as Esperanza has told, tried to achieve 25 in advance the objectives of neutral carbon emission. It's a private and public collaboration project where is the local government, the regional government, and private institution as our company, but it's also an open collaborative approach. That means that it's open to all the entities that want to add to the project can do that. At the moment, there are more than 84 different entities, private companies, universities, scientific institutions, other public administration joined to the project. They try to achieve the objectives of the project. These objectives are tried in this Cartuja Island have to be a neutral emission area, 100% renewable energy that is local produced. For this, we are developing 30 megabytes peak parking photovoltaics that generate this energy in local way. But also, we are working with all the buildings in this area, and they are installing self-consumption photovoltaics, and also storage, and all the flexibility solutions for the new grids in power that are distributed and not centralized. We have developed and digitalized all the smart grids, the power grids of the island with sensor monitoring and automation of the activity that is needed for have this distributed generation along the island. The smart buildings is the other focus of the project. We are working with more than 50 buildings that have joined to this initiative, and we have done energy audits. They have implemented renewing the lighting, the climate, installing the self-consumption photovoltaics. They have achieved more than 3 megabits peak in all the island. There are other in the area of the buildings. That is the project that Esperanza has explained is the CUNAT, or that is a project that related with how to innovate in climate and be more comfortable in open space, and also improving new materials to achieve this, storage of energy, and how to open these areas to the community to share. There is another very important project, is the new building of the Joint Research Center in Seville. This is a European Union institution that has a site in Seville, 400 scientists, and it is going to build a new building. This in the photo that is not only neutral, is produce the double of the energy that it consumes and will be shared with all the area around. And the sustainability, mobility is another achieve of the project. We are developing different initiatives to promote this. We are also trying to do a new sandbox to test all the flexibility areas in the energy. So we think that with this public and private collaboration, we can achieve the objective of having a Cartuja Island 100% renewable, sustainable, and with the self-consumption of the energy, and of course digital and sustainable. Okay, thank you very much.
Perfecto.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much to our wonderful panelists for those presentations. Super insightful already, and I'm looking forward to diving in. Just a reminder, any questions, please do send them through on Slido. We're going to have them here as well, and I'm going to be jumping between my questions and your questions as well. So, Jaume, I would like to start with you. So the carbon neutral cities, there's 100 cities taking part, but 377 cities applied to take part. And so one thing that I think that's really interesting is what are the easy opportunities, the easy wins that you're putting into place in this region, but that could be scaled out to lots of other cities that are interested without too much difficulty.
Okay. Well, I think that is a challenge to, as Esperanza has told, to achieve this objective. But there are some areas where we are working, and the town hall is working very hard, like the mobility sustainable, transforming all the mobility of the people, and also offering services like in Seville, the bicycle is a main transport, and in this area, for example, is integrated with the city, so it's very easy. Also the scooters and all the chair car, motorbike sharing, all these things are things that we are developing already, and the advantage for the citizen is very, very high. Another challenge is that, well, we need a lot of investment, but now, because of the price of the energy, everybody is trying to do this investment, at least in the self-consumption area, installing photovoltaics, all this stuff. And another thing is that I think that at that moment, I mean, with this project, everybody is aligned. The public administration and also the private companies, and we all are achieving the same objectives, and we are working together for this. So I think that we are in the same boat, and we want to achieve this, and we see benefits for everybody. Trying to push in this direction also is not very easy to achieve.
Let me step in there and say that that's the whole case, being on the same boat and understanding that we're all on the same boat. And that's one of the most difficult challenges, and also at the same time, one of the biggest benefits. Because once they understand that, you know, private and public collaboration, you know, is the only way to proceed and, you know, achieve the end goals, that's when they come and become the biggest supporters. So in a way, although it's the biggest challenge, in a way, it also one of the biggest strengths.
Yeah. The whole project gives us also a direction of where we're going, and I think that helps us all to take some of the hard decisions that we have to take, because we have a goal in mind, and to get everybody on board on that is important, and describe the why.
And in terms of making those, you mentioned public and private partnerships. Camilla, I'll continue with yourself. How do you see those public and private partnerships working best? How can partnerships be successfully utilized by governments rather than trying to take it all on themselves?
For us, in the way that we work, we want to spearhead sustainability and kind of in our area within the city. And so when we work with the city, it's with the vision that we have. So we really look for sharing that vision. We do it in a way that we do not say, this is what we need. Instead, we say, we will promise you that we will invest, work in a sustainable way, take care of all our visitors, and invest in the attractiveness of the city. But we need help from you. So I think that sharing, not sitting still, but kind of pushing forward, or not pushing, but having a dialogue of okay, let us in tourism spearhead this, and we'll help you to make this part attractive for the Stockholmers, which it is the home of the Stockholmers, but also to a place where we invite the world to see what we can do.
And understand that we are able to make adjustments as we go, because that's the other thing that comes up. We set a goal. We think that we know how to achieve what we're going for, but in reality, you know, something is off.
Yeah.
And we
use
need
this as a test area.
Yeah,
that's what we're saying.
Yeah.
Pero hay que entender que este es un camino que estamos aprendiendo a hacer. Es decir, hasta ahora eran las administraciones las que tenían la responsabilidad de resolver los problemas. Pero este es un problema demasiado grande, o sea, no hay administración que pueda resolver este problema. Entonces, estamos aprendiendo cómo. Estamos modificando la gobernanza, estamos modificando los procedimientos, pero necesitamos la colaboración pública-privada. Y cuando digo colaboración pública y privada, no solamente es la administración y las empresas. Tenemos que llegar a la administración, las empresas y los ciudadanos. Si no, es imposible. Por ejemplo, necesitamos cambiar todo el parque de vivienda. El compañero de Atenas estaba hablando de los temas de accesibilidad en el urbanismo, pero también tenemos que hablar de los temas de accesibilidad en la vivienda. En toda Europa, además en concreto, la vivienda es una vivienda de los años 60 y 70, una vivienda antigua desde el punto de vista energético, con no muy buenas calidades, y tenemos que cambiarla. Y no hay dinero público que pueda cambiar toda esa vivienda. Hace falta el concurso de todos, las personas, las empresas, los bancos, los seguros. Todos tenemos que, ¿cómo? Pues como tú decías, tenemos que darnos la oportunidad de fracasar. Es decir, tenemos que ir construyendo conjuntamente el modelo. A lo mejor a la primera no nos sale bien, pero tenemos que cambiarlo.
Yes, a paradigm shift is needed, and that's what's going on here. Will it succeed? Hopefully, but I don't think any expert can say, yes, it will, or no, it won't. But that's probably what's going to happen. Probably this is the way that we're going to achieve what we are aiming for.
Yeah.
And Jaume, one of the issues here is a political problem, right? It's about having political buy-in, and certainly when we're talking about failure, that can often be quite difficult for politicians because they work on shorter cycles. What are some of the main ways that you find are useful for getting politicians on board and making sure that failure is accepted as part of the process to going towards carbon neutral and ultimately net zero?
Well, all these issues arise when we had this pandemic and this lockdown, and most of people start thinking, well, we have to become better, we have to be better, etc. And this is like the carrot and the stick. What socially the humans we behave. We need carrots and sticks. So what administrations have learned is that, well, they have to run, they manage these collectives, these communities, and the communities are learning, and new generations are learning that, okay, what's the reality that we are facing? Thanks for nothing. Thanks for not doing anything. So, the politicians, I had a conversation this morning with a taxi driver who denies the climate change. Well, thanks, man. Now I say, okay.
Oh, saved. We can all go.
Right. Okay. Do you have children? Because I always think on my children, what future we are delivering to them if we are not doing anything. So administrations and the companies follow, okay, this is a trend, so we have to work on that. Because, well, we had the figures this morning, tourists are more willing to swap, but not paying for that. The industry, I've got a question there. Well, the industry says, okay, I'm concerned, I want to, who's paying for that? Well, you have to. We have to. We have to change our way we think, we have, and we consume. Otherwise, the reality is overcoming. We had beautiful summers here. Very, very nice, mild weather, and a drought. So the option is not doing, is just observing, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. No, the option is not there, because people now, this is thinking bigger. It's not just about urban tourism, it's not about communities, it's not about climate change or mobility. It's that, well, the heat comes, now we are not having water. That means scarcity in summer. That means people not having food, or not coming to the south of Europe because it's unaffordable, or staying there in the ice melting, So we have to understand that this is a complex system, and we all have our part, our stake to act. So we are talking to them. We say, okay, just try. just start the pathway. Otherwise, it will be too late. Well, maybe it's too late, but you don't have the right to say, okay, we'll see.
And to further on that, the political cost is now bigger than a cost of a mistake.
Yeah, and I think we have to remember that we're always changing. People are so scared of change, but we're always changing, and we always will. And I think we just have to set the direction. And I love the thing that you were talking about, that we want to be part of something bigger. So I think the change of people's minds are really important, so that to make our politicians feel that they can actually, it's actually more okay to fail than to do nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of mindset that we have to help and support our decision makers to have.
And to go back to Jaume's presentation, that is usually done by giving them data and the reports. I mean, that's another really important fact.
Yeah, the gap of the lack of knowledge, it's the uncertainty, it kills everything. So if you start saying, okay, what sustainability is this? GSTC gives you some criteria. So you have to you understand how to do it, where to start. And then you say, okay, what's carbon footprint is this, and how can you reduce it? Very easily. Change that, and you will see a 40% down. Not 100, but it's a 40. So we'll see the rest, but start. Otherwise the people look at the mountain and say, okay, I can't claim that. It's impossible. Just start. Well, you try. And when they try, they realize, okay, that's good, and that's good for me, and that's good for the others. Others have done the same. So it's a paradigm shift, as Spyridon said.
Is your data public?
Huh?
You make your data publicly available as well?
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Oh, obviously. We have to. That's going back to the question. That's, well, the public administrators, they have to be brave and to say, okay, we can have red lines and bad figures, and we are not succeeding. But if you're not succeeding, it's because you're trying. But will not be accepted is not trying, except for this kind of people that, well, they live in the prehistoric ages.
Sí. Pero hay que entender también que cuando hablaba de cómo lo ven los políticos, ¿no? Es decir, es que a día de hoy ya el ciudadano empieza a demandar una solución. ¿El ciudadano cuándo demanda la solución? Cuando le ataca a su salud o a su bolsillo. Y a día de hoy le está atacando a los dos lados. Le está atacando con temas de sequía, con temas de olas de calor. No olvidemos que las olas de calor implican incrementos de muertes e incremento de entradas en el hospital. Y además, el problema además es que no se está quedando en aquellos sitios donde... Es más, quizá no lo están sufriendo más aquellos sitios donde siempre hacía más calor. Si recordamos las grandes olas de calor donde ha habido más muertos, suelen ser más en países del norte que en países del sur, porque seguramente el país del sur sabe lidiar con las olas de calor, pero el país del norte no sabe. Luego encima tenemos una crisis energética en lo alto, está subiendo muchísimo los precios de la energía. Hay gente que a lo mejor a día de hoy no puede calentarse en invierno o refrigerarse en verano. Entonces todo eso hace que lo que el ciudadano, que hasta hace a lo mejor 3 años no le exigía a su político el que hiciera actuaciones en temas de cambio climático y sostenibilidad, a día de hoy le está diciendo, oye, que vas tarde, solucióname este problema. Entonces es fundamental ver que las inversiones en sostenibilidad no son gastos, sino que son inversiones. Y eso tiene que tenerlo claro el político y tiene que tenerlo claro el ciudadano. Y hay que transmitírselo, hay que enseñarles las cuentas. Pero es que el precio de la energía está muy caro. Aquí tenemos representantes del sector energético. Entonces, es fundamental que encontremos otra forma de tener una energía disponible en cantidad suficiente, en calidad suficiente, pero a otro coste. Entonces, es fundamental esta transición energética en la que todos estamos inmersos.
And so you mentioned the cost and how it's straightforward now, right? It's the financially responsible thing to do is prioritize sustainability. has that got easier over the last couple of years, and how are you seeing that shift? And do you think it's going to accelerate, or is it temporary because of the Ukraine crisis putting up the cost of energy? How do you balance the increasing cost of living and cost of social care demands alongside those of sustainability? And as you work within the financial office, I'm throwing that right back at you again. Thank you.
Vale. Bueno, como decía antes, el ciudadano normalmente actúa o por salud o por economía. Porque, hombre, hay muchos que pueden actuar por valores, por moral, por ética, pero muchas veces no te lo permite tu bolsillo. Entonces, tú solamente actúas cuando eres impelido a ello, ¿no? Yo sí he notado de una forma creciente la preocupación por el tema de sostenibilidad. Quizás hasta ahora había mucho de sí, pero no en mi patio trasero, ¿no? Esa famosa frase, si quiero actuar en lo global, pero me cuesta mucho actuar en lo local. Ya empieza a haber compromisos individuales, pero eso solamente puede ocurrir cuando las soluciones se democratizan y se abaratan. Es decir, cuando estamos en entornos en el que todo el mundo estamos a favor de la sostenibilidad, muchas veces he preguntado, ¿cuántos de vosotros tenéis fotovoltaica en tu casa o cuántos tenéis un coche eléctrico? Y muchas veces gente muy comprometida no lo tiene porque no podía afrontarlo. O sea, que aquí hace falta un compromiso de toda la sociedad, porque el ciudadano de a pie quiere hacer el cambio, pero necesita que el sistema se lo permita. Y entonces de esa forma lo irán haciendo. El modelo energético que tenemos ahora y el modelo económico pues está haciendo que el cambio se produzca mucho más rápido. Es un poco similar a lo que ha pasado con la digitalización y la pandemia. Íbamos en ese camino, pero tuvo que llegar la pandemia para que diéramos ese salto exponencial. Pues a lo mejor ha tenido que llegar este momento tan desgraciado en el que estamos para dar ese salto exponencial a la sostenibilidad.
Absolutely. And I want to start taking some of the questions from the screen. And the first one actually is one that had been on the list anyway. So Jaume, offsetting. So carbon neutral can be achieved through offsetting. Net zero is where you have to bring down your emissions and balance them out to zero. But with carbon neutral, you can purchase offsets. And so the question here, quite rightly, is what are the key elements of an offsetting program to have a real impact? To add to that question, how does one avoid greenwashing? How do we make sure that the money goes to the right place that actually solves the climate crisis?
Well, this is part of our project, is that delivering tools for all the stakeholders to learn how to calculate, then they will learn how to reduce it, and then, well, if we have to offsetting. And we are trying to close the circle of setting on our land, on our territory, so there's no point, or it's much better to invest on projects that will deliver sustainable food for our tourists, while it's a carbon sink, or from the seaside, or from our farm lines, etc. So this carbon farming that I showed you, well, it's 10 days ago, the European Commission approved this proposal, which will change a bit, because now you can only reforest. So we are not wetland, so the mountains are a bit far away, so we cannot do it, but well, you have to bring all these solutions from the mountains. But on the other side, we have a seaside, where you can walk on Posidonia, or you've got all these farmlands or the wetlands, which are very powerful. So why don't we invest, and why don't we ask to the companies and the administration and the visitors to help us? Your legacy will be neutral if you help us to reduce what you have left here. So, and this comes with digitalization and with data and traceability, like blockchain, for instance. Assigning blockchain to any data from the producer to the consumer. So will be transparent and will be sure and will be certified. So that's the most democratic way that say, okay, you will see each part of every step and you will follow and you will claim that that's not true, can't be. So that's this is part of the project that we want to implement in 2 years' time.
Wonderful. And I'm going to imagine there's 1 second left because it just ticked down. So I'm going to ask one final question. And to Camilla, this is a really great question around how do you manage pushback? So often sustainability is obviously great for all of us. That's why we're all here. But sometimes it can affect individuals more than others. How do you deal with pushback from residents? Increasing bus routes requires increased bus drivers. How do you manage labor and employment? How do you manage the parties?
Yeah, when it comes to pushback from the citizens, I think that most of the work that we have done has been really well welcomed, because we see if we don't do anything, it will become a really big problem. And the test this summer, when cutting off our bridge for regular for cars, it just changed the whole place. And people come. We were scared to death. I mean, when we did it, I must admit, we were like, will we have a job next week after doing this? But it was received really, really well. And I think that we have to try. And the citizens and living here on the island and everything, of course, as well, their everyday life was a lot better during this test. When it comes to increasing routes and costs and everything like that, since I'm coming from the industry, we're seeing when it comes to the carbon neutral cities that going to work over 70 or if it's even 80% take public transportation or take the bus or walks or take their bicycle. But on the leisure time, when they're tourists, we take the car. So I'm thinking that this new way of thinking and for us to spearhead is important for the city to reach their goals. But of course, it is always a priority. Should we make sure that people get to work? And for a time, our public transportation that's our only job. But then we said the majority of our visitors are from Stockholm. Shouldn't they be able to come to? So it's always a discussion, and it's a very, I would say, a positive discussion, but it's still, it's still a prioritization. And so we're making our case all the time, and getting tourism up there, and also saying use this as a test area. We'll show we're ready. To help to try future mobility solutions or other things. A long answer to the question.
Wonderful. Well, the time absolutely flies. Thank you all so much. Please, can everyone put their hands together for our wonderful panelists for a fascinating session. We won't keep you from your coffee, but if you do have any questions, feel free to come down, and I'm sure our panelists would love to answer any for you.
Thank you.